Congress may be about to do what lawsuits, grant of rights deals, and billion-dollar TV contracts couldn't. Slam the brakes on conference realignment. Late Friday, the SEC and Big Ten suddenly flipped and backed the Protect College Sports Act. Why? Because the new deal reportedly gives them stronger NIL control and legal protection while capping Power 4 leagues at 19 programs and forcing P4 to P4 movers to spend 5 years in independence first. So are FSU and Clemson effectively trapped? And did the ACC and Big 12 just win the realignment war? Let's get into it. Good evening, and welcome back to the Late Shift, Hall of Fame College Football. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, and if you love college football, you know you're in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss a moment of Hall of Fame College Football. Welcome into the show, everybody. Check in when you get in. Say hello. Make sure you smash that like button. Got to talk about this Protect College Sports Act being resuscitated from the dead. It looked like it was dead. Everybody was calling it dead. What changed enough to flip the SEC and Big Ten to support the PCSA that they wanted nothing to do with in the days leading up to, the deadlines being thrown out there by Ted Cruz, Maria Cantwell? Well, they've formally opposed it on June the 2nd. They identified 3 fundamental problems: insufficient federal preemption of conflicting state laws, inadequate protection for conferences and schools trying to enforce national rules, changes to the House settlement revenue sharing framework that they feared would actually reduce direct athlete payments. And let's just be real about it. They didn't want to share their money, and it looked like the pooling of media rights was, kind of being favored by everybody else. They didn't want nothing to do with that. They wanted to make sure that wasn't going to happen. They didn't like the congressional micromanagement, earlier concepts involving, like I said, collective media rights arrangements, restrictions aimed primarily at the SEC and Big Ten alone. Sankey's SEC reportedly proposed like 24 modifications over the last couple of weeks, and of course accelerating the talk, back and forth talk between everybody. What's up there, Gun? My Gun Sweetness, Andrew, Benji, what up? Good to see you, man. Good to see everybody in here. But I mean, they always do this. They dump it at the last second. And it was funny, I was watching Andy Staples along with Ross Dellinger and, I always forget that other guy's name, but I really like him, on the Yahoo show, and they were basically pronouncing it dead the day before that. And something told me, yeah, I don't think so. Something's coming that they're trying to do it. Now, there's some things that I like about what, is in this legislation. It will be supposedly going to vote in the Senate on sometime this week, probably later in the week. And it's expected to pass. It could get held up in by the House of Representatives later on. But overall, it feels like, you heard, who was it? Schmidt was talking about that he feels like 80 votes are gonna be for this now that it's been changed up. one of the biggest things that I see coming from it, athlete compensation ceiling got dramatically larger. I don't know how good that is for the smaller two of the Power Four programs or conferences, but it feels like if this does pass, the Big 12 may have gotten what they wanted as far as guarantees that they're not going to be left high and dry and out of the power structure. And, they certainly don't want, obviously, Super League, capping it at 19 teams per. We'll get into some of that, but the athlete compensation ceiling got huge. It went from approximately $21.3 million this year in rev share to close to $50 million. Now, not everybody's going to be able to pay that $50 million, but if you want to play for a national championship, you're already paying that, or somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 to 50 million. High 30s, whatever. The cap will definitely be, and it's going to go up from year to year, but that's one of the sticking points that they really came forward with. Essentially what it did, negotiations, they created an additional retention pool. So at different points this week, drafts reportedly ranged from 20 million to 27.5 million. By Thursday, the AP was reporting a possible additional 27.5 million retention pool for players that are already in your program, producing approximately 48.8 million available within the protected compensation structure. That's a huge jump. You went from 20.5 million this last year. Once they, obviously nobody was going by what the cap was, but this is supposedly a stronger cap. Some reporting on the Friday version breaks the structure down somewhat differently. Approximately 21.3 million in base rev share, 22.5 million retention, and another 5 million earmarked for women's and non-rev sports. But the key critical takeaway is the same. The congressional framework moved from roughly 21 million to almost 50. That's an enormous concession to the wealthiest programs in college sports. Your blue bloods, your teams that you expect to actually compete for national championships. The real breakthrough Friday, though, was the associated entity problem. This is probably the single most important explanation for the Friday night flip for the SEC and Big Ten. The schools have increasingly used outside entities like media rights partners, corporate sponsors, apparel companies, other school-affiliated businesses that, can directly pay players and not, to create NIL arrangements with players outside of the house settlement and rev share limits. This is how they've gotten around it. Because, again, it was already $20.5 million. We know that the teams that you're expecting to compete for a national championship this year are somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 to 40 million at least. And you've heard higher, But the SEC and Big Ten wanted language strong enough to create an enforceable cap without inadvertently prohibiting legitimate endorsement agreements. Ted Cruz was saying, Thursday, the cap is a hard cap, full stop. That's what his quote was. But conference officials weren't convinced that the language actually accomplished that. CBS reported Friday's breakthrough came when lawmakers in the leagues finally agreed on language governing these associated entities. And described that provision as the issue the conferences had essentially been waiting to resolve before signing on. That's your answer to what happened Friday. Money enforcement happened Friday, I think, is what one of the bigger things was. The other thing was, again, the SEC and Big Ten got something close to a federal salary cap. That's where it's a big point in all of this. The structure would roughly be institutional revenue share, retention payments, certain allowable independent market NIL, while school-connected payments that are really disguised roster acquisition payments could count against the cap. That distinction will determine whether the legislation actually controls roster spinning. I'm going to tell you, have fun. They're not going to control it. But I mean, otherwise, Alabama, Ohio State, Texas, Oregon, Georgia, Oklahoma, Michigan, everyone else simply invents NIL mechanism 4.0 6 months from now, which who's to say they won't? The entire purposes of the associated entity provision is to prevent that. I still don't know that it's going to accomplish it. But the big bombshell that I think came out of all of this, and, this is the stuff that kind of had me taken aback. I know they've been talking about it apparently over the last 10 days or so. Conference realignment. I think it's dead. I think if this passes, you essentially killed it. Current reporting says the negotiated bill contains two extraordinary provisions. Power conference membership capped at 19 members. The Big Ten already has 18, so they could add one school. That's automatically earmarked for Notre Dame. Utah, sorry, you're not going. And a school moving from, but the other part, any school moving from one power conference to another, a la Florida State and Clemson, who had a lawsuit going against the ACC, fought for their ability to be able to get out, pay shorter amount, however long they stayed, the amount goes down on their buyouts, I guess, of the ACC. Now, unless they're able to do something like before this becomes a law and, hit the emergency button or whatever and bounce, you would have to be an independent for 5 years before you could move to another conference. And again, only a couple or a few would be able to. The SEC has 16 programs, obviously, at the moment, so they would be able to add 3. Who would they add? The guess is, SEC or FSU, Clemson, North Carolina, Miami. Virginia's been talked about quite a bit. Virginia Tech's been talked about. But talk about teams like Texas Tech / Oklahoma State. Probably not, right? Probably not. I feel like at the end of the day, if this is what they wanted to see happen, and I'm not sure that it feels like they didn't want this to go down, but all of a sudden they did agree to it. I've been saying for a while that I don't see the SEC as wanting to get a whole lot bigger, if bigger at all. But I guarantee you, to me, this feels like it's not great for FSU Clemson. I think it's not good for them. But what it does is it damn sure helps, Brett Yormark, and Phillips from the ACC. They just kind of won conference realignment without really doing anything. The ACC's been under siege. It's been, I don't think that it was in as much trouble as like the Big 12 would be. There's been talk about them merging as, to build a super league of their own. That really wasn't, it would have been the leftovers, whoever didn't leave, Florida State, Miami, whatever. And most of them probably would have been gone. Just, coming together to form a league that would have been competitive, I'm sure, but not the same. But if you're the Big 12, and the biggest worry for the Big 12 ever since Oklahoma and Texas left has been, can we stave off the next round of realignment? Now they are. This would, if this passes, it's going to happen. 19 schools, a school moving from one power conference to another must spend 5 years outside of that conference, effectively independent before entering its new league. This is like a death sentence. Only Notre Dame can live in this bubble. They've been doing it for, decades and decades. They know how to do it. They have, conference membership in their other sports, but football is able to do it. They've worked all this out and they know exactly how to do it. And mind you, I know everybody wants to say Notre Dame has to join the league. No. As this evolves, they get stronger in the independence. Nobody else does, though. Nobody else does. Notre Dame wouldn't even face that if they decided to move to the Big Ten or the SEC for that matter, because they're already independent and they've been independent for decades, If that language survives into law, it isn't mere, but I mean, it's not discouraging realignment. It's essentially saying it's going to impose a transfer portal on the universities. You want to transfer? Go ahead. But you got to sit out 5 years. 5 years. It's a death penalty for realignment. It really is. All this realignment, Florida State illustrated the problem perfectly. Imagine they eventually leave the ACC intending to join the SEC. Under this proposal, they couldn't simply just move, like that. It would essentially have to go independent 5 seasons, then SEC. During that time, they would have to replace conference TV revenue. Right now, they're one of the ones that gets the most because they get the most views. They'd have to figure out conference scheduling or non-conference scheduling. Bowl relationships would change. Basketball conference membership would change. Conference championship access, all that stuff. Again, Notre Dame can function this way because Notre Dame has spent its entirety of its existence as an independent football economy around NBC and the ACC relationship over the last 10 years or so. Florida State hasn't. Neither is Clemson. Neither is North Carolina, Miami, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas. Nobody else is doing it. BYU did it for a while. It didn't work out well for BYU. It hurt them. But that means the freedom to switch conferences technically remains. Economically, you can't do it. You can't do it. It's almost, it becomes unusable. It's an unusable way to go about it. And I'm surprised that the SEC and Big Ten decided that you would do it, that they're okay with that. And I'm not, by no means am I saying this is a done deal. I'm saying if this goes through, who's to say what's going to happen with the courts and everything else? But yeah, I don't think any of it has been good. And I think, like, the fact that I don't really love Ted Cruz deciding if you're worthy of being able to move without that problem. Because if you're a G6 program, Memphis, UNLV, Boise, somebody like that, Washington State, Oregon State, whatever, and they want to bring you up, then you don't have to do the independent thing. South Florida, any of these other programs, like I said, Memphis, Tulane, whatever. They wouldn't have to do that. But if you're already in a power conference, you would. I don't know that would hold up in court. I don't know if that it would. Again, I think that there's still hurdles to go here. But if it is going to pass the Senate, and I don't have any reason to believe that it isn't, because now that you're getting support from Greg Sankey, Tony Petitti, and that was really the only thing holding it up was their power, it should pass through there. Now, the House is another thing altogether. I don't like getting into politics a whole lot. At the end of the day, I think it's wild. Again, like my mom's saying here, if it does go through, I hope they don't end up regretting it. But here's the one thing I will say, though. I feel like for the Big 12, yeah, I see this works for them. It means they stay alive. It means you can't just poach. But it also locks in programs that may be potential targets of the other conferences. Teams like Utah would hate that, but you're stuck. That being said, you also have a seat at the table from here on out, or at least for, moving forward for a while. Kind of locks you in. This is what the Big 12's kind of been hoping for. They've been pissed off at Texas and Oklahoma for a while now for leaving because it's put them in a precarious position. If this goes through, it's a win for Brett Yormark. A win. Again, though, what my mom's talking about, and I agree with this, you really want Congress like deciding what the hell you're gonna, how things are gonna go? I've never understood this side of it. That you would even ask the government to get them. They can't. I mean, I don't want the government telling me what to do on anything. I wouldn't trust them to make a sandwich. At all. Republicans, Democrats, none of them. Left wing, right wing, same bird with me. I'm gonna trust them for shit. And I don't think this is good for them to have that much control over it. President Trump included. I just think I don't know that this all passes through muster. I have a hard time believing that it will. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe. You could be right about that. The loophole would be SEC tells FSU and Clemson be independent, but we can schedule 5 or 6 games versus our members a year. Sure. Here's the thing, though. Is the things that they've talked about in the past, and you've got a lot of schools within the Big Ten that, even Oregon isn't getting full share. Oregon and Washington, they didn't get a full share of the revenue. They haven't still. Hell, Rutgers and Maryland, they haven't, they've been in the Big Ten for a long time now, haven't been getting a full share up until just recently. Right? Do you add that much value no matter who you are? I get it. Florida State's it's a big brand. I'm not saying anything bad about them. I'm not saying anything bad about Miami, North Carolina. I get it. They're big brands. But, look at the SEC as presently constructed. It's loaded with big-time teams. And, they win the ratings war week after week after week. They just do. At some point, are you additive to the conference, or are you just taking away from the teams that are already in it? And I think that that's the juggling act that Greg Sankey's had to kind of worry about up until this point. I think I think it works out also that, they may not be able to, they may have wanted to get bigger to 20, 24 maybe at some point. I don't think he's been in a big hurry to do that, number one. But I think the biggest thing was you didn't want to allow the Big Ten to get big in comparison, and not be able to keep up with them. It locks the Big Ten in place as well. They can only add one. And that's a permanent, what it amounts to, it's just a permanent placeholder for Notre Dame if and when the Irish ever decide to join a conference, which, newsflash, it ain't happening. It ain't happening. Every evolution makes them stronger as an independent. Their media deal with NBC is already on par with the Big Ten and SEC's media deals for all their programs. They just added 17 to 20 million a year for, I don't remember which one it was. They just got a patch. The Big 12 got $1 million per school to have, Monster Energy on their uniforms. One program just got the same amount of money, Notre Dame, for one patch on theirs, on their uniform. They don't need the SEC. They don't need the Big Ten. They've got if they're in the top 12, they're in the playoff no matter what. That's a stipulation that, everybody agreed to. Why would you move? But is the Big Ten, hoping against hope? They're not going to, if something in the future pops up that you could add Notre Dame and you're blocked at 19 and you already have 18, they're not going to add somebody else in place of them, whether it be North Carolina or Miami or anybody. They're not going to do it. They're going to hold that open for Notre Dame because of the fact that they're the big boys. Yeah. I think it's crazy too, man. I think it's crazy too. I'm with you on this. What, by $1 million? It was 18 to 20 versus 17 to 20 a year for Notre Dame. Same thing. At the end of the day, they don't have to be in a conference and they still get the same money. I mean, what are you talking about? It was 17 to 20 for Notre Dame. It was 18 to 20 for Ohio State. That's not a difference. Come on. Welcome in, Mars Jams. Sooner in Texas? Yeah, they always make things better. Yes. The United States federal government, breaking news, the United States federal government is improving college football. Watch and see. Back to you, Jim. What are the chances of it going through? According to, listen, it's got support from the people it needed to get support from, Sankey and Petiti. That's the only thing it needed. Now the senators are probably going to pass this. I mean, there's no guarantee. But according to Schmidt, he says 80 senators are going to say yes. 80. That's way over the amount they need. Yeah, money over the Big 12. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, again, now one thing to talk about, the Big 12, they can still sell another patch. What they've done is Monster Energy is going to be worked into, think of NASCAR with I don't even know who is their big sponsor now. It used to be Nextel, right? But it was the Nextel, it would be NASCAR and then the Nextel series or whatever. So it was intertwined with NASCAR, their logo along with Nextel. That's essentially what the Big 12 thing is with Monster Energy. But if you noticed, Oklahoma State, they've got a patch from one of the tribes in one of the big tribes in Oklahoma. They're going to have a patch on their uniforms starting this year. And I don't know what the number is there. It's not as big as I know it isn't as big as what Notre Dame or Ohio State got for sure. But I know that BYU apparently has sold another patch already. I think Utah might have. I don't know. Their schools are still allowed to do that. But the other one from Monster is just basically intertwining it with the Big 12. All the shit everybody's been talking about it. It's funny. And it tells you that there's a big difference. But you could still sell a part of your uniform and get money from that. Right? We'll see how it goes. Yeah, so now listen, apparently there's not drafted guys could come back. See, apparently there was a injunction in Colorado sometime this week that has gone through, and apparently I'm not positive that this is real. I saw this on, what is it, Sports Talk Jay. He's a Tennessee guy. He's saying that that's done and that it makes thousands of guys immediately eligible. Now, if you've already signed like guys like Dominic Williams, and as you're talking about Marvin Jones Jr., they signed. They're on teams. I don't know. I don't know what that does to that. I don't know what that does to that. I mean, it's up in the air. But part of what this bill is supposed to do is allow college football to make rules and have antitrust protection to not be able to get sued every time you turn around. Although I don't know how much, and here's the other thing. I'm still not positive that holds because you don't have collective bargaining. The players don't have any say in any of this. I think that there's going to be some more lawsuits. I don't think this is out of the woods yet. It's a lot closer to being reality than it was. Stopping transfers after the first time, you get one freebie, and apparently you'd have to sit out after that unless your coach leaves. We'll see. We'll see about that. Yeah. Well, and apparently it was the biggest one that they got. It was the biggest offer they had to like sell that part of their logo. Okay. So Cole Hudson. Okay. Yeah, I can see that. I don't know what it means. The ruling from Colorado is real. I don't know what it means either, though. Again, antitrust protection, will it retroactively go back? I don't know. I think, and anybody who sits here and tells you that they know for sure this is going to go through, don't listen, because they don't know. There's a lot of things, a lot of hurdles you're still going to have to pass. Now, if it gets through Congress, both houses of Congress, essentially, I mean, it's in place. That doesn't mean it won't be challenged a million times over, and it may or may not work out. I think at some point, you saw Stanford they've put in place, a players union that they want to be like the basis of starting one that could be a nationwide thing. I would trust Stanford dudes, smartly. I mean, they're smart people, obviously. I think that's probably coming, and I think that it's going to have to. So I think there's going to be some things that maybe not all of this goes through. If they get collective bargaining, there'll be some things that go back and forth over it. But whatever they decide, between them or whatever, it would stick. It would stick. Would he want to return to OU for depth purposes only? I'll catch up on Ole Miss after the stream's over. Glad you're feeling better. Thanks, man. That's been a rough week. Feel like it's another trial. Let's see. Wow. Undrafted free agents were still eligible to come back. I think that they would take Dominic Williams back if they could. That being said, they may not. I don't think that they're worried about depth at Oklahoma. What would it be like later in the season? Maybe. But now you also had to, even though it's possible that you could do that and come back for a fifth year, 5 to play 5, whatever. If we're talking about a real cap, and whether or not there's a hard cap or not, I know Ted Cruz is saying that. If we're talking about that kind of stuff, what you have to realize is, even if there isn't a hard cap, every program, even Texas had to cut players to be able to pay for the guys that they brought in. And I don't care what you say, Benji, that's what he said. Look, what I'm saying is you have a budget. No matter who you are, you have a budget. Even if you're Notre Dame, even if you're A&M, even if you're Texas, Ohio State, Michigan. You all have a budget. Some people's budget is going to be higher than others, like Texas and A&M and Notre Dame and so on and so forth. SC could. But it's not an endless stream of money, with or without this hard cap going into place on the Protect College Sports Act. Doesn't matter. Everybody has a budget. And look, are you going to keep players around if you keep pushing them back? No, you're not. I can guarantee you, a guy like Danny Okoye, he's not going to wait around for another year to get his opportunity. You know, I don't see it. Could they go back to other places? Probably, yeah. Would there be other places that would love to have them? Sure. As far as like the D-line guys that you're talking about, I feel like that's probably not happening. I think that the roster that they have, they're happy with. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you have a couple of injuries, you probably would revisit that conversation. But by then, these guys are already, on another program, probably. Because whether or not they were drafted or not drafted, they, signed as a free agent or whatever, it doesn't mean that, that they're not still capable of playing at the NFL and certainly in the college football level. They were still good players. Somebody will want them. But, it is what it is. Yeah. I think so too. I think you're right. I think those guys will probably go somewhere that, they could improve their draft stock for next year. I think you're right. D. Will and MJJ could sign up for one online class in case they get cut. Enrollment still matters. Does it though? Does it really matter? No, bullcrap. He said the words. Any linebacker? I would want who wouldn't want Michael Taft back? It's crazy. Mm-hmm. True that. Yeah, lost your coaching staff, Happens, Dave. Happens. Let's see. The more you describe the Notre Dame situation, I think Texas will back out of the series. You do? I don't. I think you're moving in a direction where, they made the strength of schedule. We got to wait and see how it all works itself out. But I think, it doesn't hurt you to play these games. It doesn't. It hurts if you get beat by 4-8 Floridas. And, taken to overtime by the number 14 and 15 teams in the SEC. That's when it hurts you. I know everybody wants to talk about, just Ohio State, the loss to Ohio State or the loss to Georgia. But win the game against Florida, you're in. You play in a conference. Look, now that the strength of schedule matters, everybody's talking about 9-3 teams getting in, and who's to say they won't? When you see that they put 2 G5 teams in last year, a group of 6 now, and both of them got boat raced. These are not games that were highly watched. Nobody wants to see that. You're not going to see that happen again. So I think you could get a 9-3 team from the SEC or Big Ten, or maybe both, depending on how it all works out. depending on how it works out. We'll see. I get it. I get it. But here's you know what? Here's what I'm gonna say. I said this to a commenter. I think it was on Rocket Ranch show. He's on right now. You guys should be watching the College Football Express and the College Football Mafia too. If you're interested in this information, especially, those guys are all over it. But somebody was saying, that they've got Notre Dame fatigue and all this. But you know who doesn't? The people that make the rules, the people that run the playoff. Greg Sankey, Tony Petitti, they've given them their full place at the table. Why? Because they bring revenue. ESPN, in the year that they play Texas, they get to put it on their channel and get the money for that. That's a huge, huge game. Big money maker. Everybody will watch it. NBC gets this the other year. Cool. Everybody will watch it. They're a big money maker. They've got as big a following or bigger than probably anybody else. They're recruiting on the level with everybody else. They're not going away. They're not going away. Every evolution helps them stay in independence. I don't even see them moving out of independence ever. Not if things keep going this way. And there is no stomach by ESPN, Fox, Sankey, Petitti, whoever, to listen to fans that say, fuck them. They don't care what you think. They don't. As far as ESPN, Fox are concerned, here's what they think.
If you take your top lip and connect it to your bottom lip, you will shut the fuck up.
When it comes to Notre Dame. That's what they're telling you. They don't give a shit. Okay, cool. So did Oregon. SC still hadn't been since Lincoln got there. What are we talking about there, Panda? Yeah. As long as they're in the top 12, they get in. It's not blue here. It's brother. It's the networks. They want them on their televisions. They do. They want them in the CFP. I promise, as much as, you know what, I know there's a lot of Miami fans in the country. There's a lot of people that hate them too, like a lot of people that hate Notre Dame. They did, think about what they did everything in their power to jump Notre Dame over Miami, even though Miami beat them in week 1 last year. They wanted to do it so bad. That's why they kept Miami further back for the longest time. And they, as long as they're not right next to each other in the rankings, we don't have to put them to, up against each other and decide. They wanted Notre Dame. Why? Because of ratings. They did. Now, they couldn't. Piss Notre Dame off, something fierce. But make no mistake, Fox and ESPN did not want Miami instead of Notre Dame. They didn't. It ain't blue hairs. It's the networks. They know what the numbers are. They want the money. That's how it is. Okay. How many did they play? They played 2. I mean, the SC game, which game are you talking about? Are you talking about A&M? They played 2 top 10 teams back to back in week 1 and week 2, lost to both by a total of 4 points, by the way. They played SC that was 9-3, playoff contenders. They didn't make it in. Beat the shit out of them. You know. Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, of course it did. But before the playoff, did Miami have another one of those games that had that many viewers? Nope. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Again, and the viewership is real. Like, we talked about this believe me, the reason that they do that is because the biggest concentration of sports fans that, by the way, are not huge college football fans, but they love Notre Dame, is in the northeast part of the country, New York and up to like Boston and stuff. There's a large, look, they don't barely watch college football aside from Notre Dame. They've got multiple channels, stations, radio, and television in New York strictly that puts Notre Dame on because they have a large contingent of people that won't watch college football otherwise. They don't give a shit about Rutgers. Don't care. They don't care about really Ohio State or Michigan. There's some that do, but the biggest amount of people and the biggest concentration, and they don't generally watch college football unless it's Notre Dame. That's reality. If Notre Dame's in, you get the Northeast, you get New York. It changes things. Now, I'd love to see them have a better, you've got to figure out a way. The ACC's got to quit serving up the sacrificial lambs of the conference every damn year. You play one good team and the rest of them are 1 or 2, 3 mid and 3 awful ones out of the 6 that they play. Quit giving them those sacrificial lambs. I hate that part. But now that Stanford's in the ACC, they're going to play them. That's one of their rivals. SC ducked out of that one. I don't care what anybody says. SC ducked it. That's Lincoln. And I'm not even in favor of the way that Notre Dame does things. I'm just telling you, it's not all on them. Believe me, if Lincoln's not there, they're playing Notre Dame again immediately. He's just trying to save his own ass. Listen, I get it. It's because it's Aggie. It was actually a pretty good game, though. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of Catholics up there, man. Yeah. Well, when you're getting your ass kicked, it's not good for SC. If you're beating him, if he was winning that game from year to year, because he's 1-3 against Notre Dame. He won the first one, hasn't won since. If he was even 2-2, he'd probably still be bitching. But if he was 3-1, not 1-3, Lincoln would be, believe me, they'd still be playing it because it helps them. Other than Notre Dame, Sooner in Texas, other than Notre Dame, yes. They're NFL, they're it's a pro sports market, aside from Notre Dame football. Mm-hmm. That's correct. Listen, he's got to win some of these big games if he's going to stick around. He got to win some. He's literally, 5-13 against the top 25, 0-5 against the top 10. since he got. It's not good. It's not good if you're Lincoln. Not good, not good, not good. SC never ducks Notre Dame. The bull crap. Dude, I have my facts right. I know what they did. They threw that in at the last second so it looked good on them. They want to dictate when they can play. Only in those 3 weeks of the season. Why? Why not keep it like it has been? It's a great end of the season game. Rivalry week. And then you get to do what middle of the season more whenever you go to South Bend. I don't understand what the big deal was. Oh yeah, we had such a tough schedule in the Big Ten. Come on. The first time you played one. My facts are straight, bruh. They're straight. We worship San Bevito. If you didn't have the hashtag behind it, that'd be on the screen. That's hilarious. They do too, though. Listen, they've said they want to play. Period. What they didn't want to do was go and play in Mexico or whatever, and then making sure that it has to be in those first 3 weeks of the season. Look, man, we know how Lincoln is. He ducks big games. He tried to duck the game with LSU, even though he won. He was trying his ass off. Brian Kelly held him to it. Nope. He did get out of the series with Ole Miss. Make no mistake. That just happened. And SC says that was a mutual decision. No, it wasn't. And there's a lot of pissed off Trojans, like, former all-time greats that have been pissed about the Notre Dame game being canceled. And they're saying it's because of SC and Lincoln, not Notre Dame. And they hate Notre Dame. That game should not be getting played. Yeah, you can pop in if you want to, Rock. I want to ask you a couple of questions. Liberty, bibbity. My facts are straight, dude. You're just taking up for SC. Come on, stop it. Anytime, anywhere, other than, they don't want to go to Mexico and play. Okay, cool. Whatever, dude. You can say what you want, but I know, I mean, we watched Lincoln take a 3-year work at weaseling his ass out of that game. We all watched it. Campbell getting set up for disappointment. They lost so much, and he's bringing a lower Big 12 team with him, counting on a weak schedule. Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I mean, look, I think that they're probably going to win 10 games without much. They should. And I mean, hey man, they're pretty legit offensively. That Rocco Beck, probably better quarterback than the dude they had last year there. Campbell's a good coach. Nope, that's not. No. We know better than that, Trojan. Trojan Panda, you're bull crapping me. Not doing it. What games am I making it to this year? Not sure. I'm not sure. I really want to make sure that I get to the Georgia game, but probably all the home games. So we'll see. They've had it. Come on, man. This is the first time in 3 years that you've had to play Ohio State. Come on. Come on. Ole Miss did not cancel that game. Bro, stop it. Stop it, Panda. Stop listening to Lincoln. You got to quit doing that. Benji, that is a hilarious statement, though. We worship San Benito, all the Catholics in Texas. Love it. That's funny stuff. That is funny, funny, funny. Lincoln would never lie about football like he lied about his brisket.
And that's the format, and USC sucks.
Richie Doves, my guy. My favorite Buckeye. What up, dog? Again, let's talk about what are you guys' thoughts about, is this thing going to go through? Is it not? I mean, Rock, are you still there? Come on in if you are. It's there. When am I going on next? Monday morning. You could come on Monday morning if you want. Rock. Just played Oregon last year. Can't play top teams everywhere. I could say the same thing about Oklahoma not playing Georgia till this year. Played everybody else that was good in the SEC. Who did they miss? Other than Georgia. Back-to-back years against Bama. Bama was in the playoff. Tennessee was a playoff team. Texas, playoff team till last year. Mizzou, Ole Miss. No. Come on. Stop it. Stop it. He's a slimy little ducker of competition. We know this about him. It's factual. He left Oklahoma because he didn't want nothing to do with the SEC. He'd been exposed year after year in the times that he made the 3 years in the playoff. When he still had the remnants of what Stoops left him, they should have won that game. He gagged in the Rose Bowl. I was there. The next year, they were smaller in the Orange Bowl. By the time I got sat down, it was 28-3 against Bama. And then we all know what happened with the LSU game. He wanted nothing to do with that shit. He wanted nothing to do with coaching at LSU either. And man, believe me, I don't think he had a clue about the Big Ten move either. Or he might have ended up at like Tech, staying in the Big 12. There you go. Yeah, the SEC. That was Greg Sankey. Thank you, sir, in Texas. I guess you could say Indiana, but they're recent. Yeah, but they didn't play them. Look, first year they didn't have to play their former rivals, Oregon or Washington either, did they? Certainly not Oregon. They've been doing that for a while, too, even when they were still Pac-12. Come on, bro. Stop it. And then he bitches and complains about having to go across country. He's not a fan of the Big Ten. You can tell he's not. Bro, I'm just telling you, man, that's how Lincoln lives. Yeah, I know. Isn't it? It's a trip. Listen, he's not. They're going to find out. Go 8-4 again. See how that works out. And truth be told, even without Notre Dame on the schedule this year, which I think is lucky for them, they need to win 2 of those 4 big games. They got to win 2. It's going to be tough. When you have to play Ohio State, whether it's at home or not, you're on the road at Indiana. They haven't done well on the road at all under Lincoln. You've got Oregon. Is Oregon at home or on the road? I mean, everybody thinks Oregon's the best team. There's a lot of people picking Oregon to be the best team in the Big Ten. I know that pains USC fans to no end. He isn't winning these games, though. It's probably a good thing you're not. Are you playing Michigan again? I know you beat them last year. But that was with Sharon. He doesn't have a good record against Witt. I don't think they're playing them, though, this year. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Hey, listen, I'm not. The whole Kurt Signetti and his BS was hilarious. Oregon's at home. Yeah, okay. Oregon and Ohio State are both at home. I feel like you got to win one of those. If you're going to get to 10-2, you better. And you need to win some of these games against the good teams because you need to. You're USC. Is there an excuse for not? No, this is basically year 3 for Maeva at quarterback. I like him. They've got a good running backs. They never have a problem getting receivers. Lincoln does well with those dudes. Offensively, they should be fine. Will they run the ball enough to complement Gary Patterson's defense? We're going to see. But are we going to just blame? I mean, Trojan Fight, you've been one to just blame, and you don't like Gary Patterson, so you don't think it's going to. If it doesn't work out, it ain't going to be because of Gary. It's going to be because Lincoln still doesn't do complimentary football. If you can't have a good defense when you have Gary Patterson, it might be you. Just saying. I'm glad you like it. I'm glad it makes you laugh. Yeah. You're going to go and, you're going to be there? Nice. They should load up the Coliseum that night, right? I think Patterson's he's one of the best defensive minds in college football. Make no mistake. TCU isn't as good. Look, that year that the Big 12 screwed TCU and Baylor by not having a conference championship game, they did the same thing basically with when they didn't do it for Oklahoma State too. They won the conference without having to play a championship game. Didn't make the playoff. Of course, they gagged their ass off against Iowa State that year too, 2012. But sharing the conference championship, stupid shit. Stupid. I think either one of them could have won the Natty. I think that TCU probably would have. That defense was so nasty. They were low, and their offense was good too. They were nasty. It's one of the best Big 12 teams I've seen in its existence. They were nasty. Yeah. Look at the running game versus Oregon and Notre Dame. Yeah, no doubt. But you have to stick with it, though. And that's the thing. Against Notre Dame, I mean, they're loaded in the trenches. Same with Oregon. I mean, they got one of the best D-lines in the country. It's coming back. You got to run the ball. But if you don't stick to the run game plan, it's like we've talked about with Oklahoma. I mean, I'm not just saying this only about Lincoln. He got away from that 60-40 thing that Stoops made him do whenever he was the coordinator. It got less and less. Now, but We know that he can scheme up a hell of a run game. Why he hasn't, I don't know. I remember the year after Caleb won the Heisman, you got one of the best backs. He's averaging like 9 yards a carry and getting 8 carries a game. Make it make sense. Caleb out there running for his life. They do. They should. Well, Richie Dubs, they better run. I mean, listen, what I've seen, what we know of Lincoln, he hasn't ever been complimentary enough to where his defense could thrive to the point that they could win big time. And against teams like Ohio State. I mean, they beat Ohio State that year with Baker, and then, but that remember that was the year that Stoops retired, his first year. They were loaded still. Baker was legit. I mean, they were loaded. They should have won the Natty. It was different. Yeah. Richie, he's been doing that for freaking 12 years. Stop it. No, 2015, 10 years. Low-key transitioning. That's hilarious. Yeah, I do know that part. Low-key transitioning. That's funny. That's funny shit, Richie Dubs. Low-key transitioning. Okay. Well, we know. I mean, here's the thing. A lot of people have blamed Bill Bedenbaugh. They only got like a couple. In 2021, they only recruited a couple of freaking linemen at Oklahoma. He's never going to be short on receivers, studs that can play quarterback, whatever. Linemen were the reason that they were as good as they were when they were. And he could run the football. And I mean, he's had great running backs too. Don't get me wrong. He can scheme it up. Dude, he can. He's like a lot of these offensive coaches, dude. They get away from that shit quick. Unless they have a guy like Kirby Smart that's in their face, or Nick Saban like, no, run the fucking ball. That's how these offensive coaches are. And I'm not even, that's not just Lincoln. A lot of them are like that. Kalen DeBoer. Ben Arbuckle. You can say whatever you want about the old line last year. When they got carries, Rob and Torrey, they were good. They didn't get enough of them. I think he did the right thing. I think that was the best hire he could have made in that situation. It was better than PK too. Yeah. Yeah, and it took a while though, right? I know that they were ready to get rid of Alex Grinch's ass when he went to OU. Ohio State fans everywhere was, get the fuck out. It took a while. They were happy about that. He could. The GT counter, his GT counter was unbelievable. I don't think so. Not that I'm hearing now. I mean, maybe, I guess. Listen, again, I was saying there may not be a hard roster cap yet. You have a budget, though, and they're not. Oklahoma's not. They can't just overspend. Now, if they need somebody, they're going to have boosters that are going to put the money up. Make no mistake. I don't think they're worried about their defensive line. They're not. I don't think they're worried about really anything. They went out and got the guys that they liked. They did a good job. Do I think DeAnton Lynn was the issue? No, I don't. I think DeAnton Lynn was pretty good. I feel good about the OU run game because of Kevin Wilson, Dalen McCullough, hell of a running back coach. Kevin Wilson was the architect of the best OU offense in history, probably. They ran the shit out of the ball. And they went out and the line got considerably better as the year went along. It's young, but Michael Fasusi's legit. He got better and better and better as the year went on. Getting Emarion Harris, the guy's started a bunch of games in the SEC. He's been very good at right tackle. I think he's fitting right in. But their youth, what they had to suffer through last year made them better. And I think they're really good. Then you go out and get Hayden Hansen, Rocky Beers, the kid from Tennessee, the younger kid. It's night and day difference. You can now run 11, 12 personnel. 22 personnel if you wanted to. And I think that Kevin Wilson's going to be a big part of that game plan. Yeah, hell, Richie Dubs, you know about Kevin Wilson. He was the OC for Urban when they won the Natty that year too. He's legit. That doesn't mean that, and now, Buckle's still the OC, and you still got to get better play out of John Mateer. But if you get a commitment to the run game, it'll work. He did? Okay. I'd love it. I'm a big fan of Deshaun McCullough. Big fan. Love that guy. And I know he was an undrafted free agent guy too. The thing about Deshaun, I think it was injuries that kind of got him more than anything, right? Good call. Hey, Crow, thanks, man. Boomer effing Sooner. Appreciate the super chat, my guy. Good to see you. Played too many soft coverages. Again, it seemed it seemed like they were worn down at the end of games because they were in the game an awful lot. And these are the things that we've always seen from Lincoln. When you do have 3 and outs, it's kind of similar to even like when you score. If you score in 2 plays or 3 plays, it's not a lot of time on the sideline for that defense to get a blow. And let's just be real. Kind of soft. It's not what works. Appreciate you, Crow. That's not a terrible suggestion, Urban Engine. Shout out to Jay. I don't know that, but again, I don't think that they're really struggling at linebacker, though. I just don't. When you get Heineke come back, and listen, hit the lotto with Cole Sullivan. Kip is the man. And I think that with Reggie being the main cheetah, I just don't see that it's necessary. Cole's going to be playing some cheetah too. I don't see it. I just don't see it. I don't know that you have to do it. I'm not saying that I wouldn't love to see Deshaun McCullough back in the fold. Great player. Injuries were kind of his, I think it's what hurt him. But he's a hell of a football player, man. End of the day, I don't know that he would help himself that much he wasn't getting the reason that he left OU and went to Nebraska that last 2 years was because he knew he wasn't going to play much. He wouldn't come back to be a depth piece now. I just don't see it, man. Now, because of his dad being on the staff, could it work out? Probably. And again, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the guy. I just don't know that it's the best situation for him, though. I just don't see it really. I don't know. Maybe so. Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe it is. Kevin is the man. They did bring a new strength and conditioning guy in. Oh, are you talking about SC or are you talking about Oklahoma? Oh, the Kansas State. Second year. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They got rid of the yoga instructor. Yeah. Again, we kept being told how stupid we were to say that he wasn't, that he was a yoga instructor. We were right there too. Trojan Panda. Yes, you're right. No, you're not wrong. You've heard me say that a bunch of times. If you watch as much as you act like you do, and as much as I see you, I know you've heard me say that. Acting like you came up with it. Mm-hmm. Yep. I know what you're talking about, Dave. He is a monster. He was great against Oklahoma last year. Had a great game. Yeah. I did like that. Yeah. Dude, Kip is, I've got a lot of guys that I love on that defense. He's my favorite player on that, probably on the team. I love me some Kip Lewis, man. Love me some Kip Lewis. Guy's a dog, animal, just a baller. Yeah, see. Trojan fight. They're all right. I like these two dudes are okay. How do we beat Georgia? I think you're going to have to run the ball, but I think you probably beat them by throwing the ball. But you can't be one-dimensional. But I think you're going to have to be able to beat them deep. And Material's going to have to play well. But you're not going to beat them doing what they do. This is what, you know what I mean? You're going to have to put their defense in jeopardy and by not being one-dimensional. That's how. Think about Bama beating them in Athens last year. What happened? Now, part of that is I know that it's whatever. You can say whatever about it. They struggle with them. But, maybe that's over with after the SEC championship game. I would tell you, though, that, Ty Simpson dotted them up. They ran the ball pretty well there. They still had their, they weren't unhealthy at that point in their running back room. But Ty Simpson dotted him up when he needed to. He made some key runs. Yeah, you got to score more points, no doubt. I think, again, I'm going to tell you, I think this defense gives you a chance to win every game. I can't really sell you one of those here, Charles. Wish I had one in the, in the store. Oh, I get it. I get what you're saying. No, it is. And it's young. It was really young last year. What they did, then they did not do a very good job. You heard young guys talking about it. They were not great rushing the passer last year at any point. They got better as the season went along. But when they played against teams that had mobile quarterbacks and stuff, they couldn't get their hands on Trinidad at all. In the two games, they gave up 80-something points, 90 points to Ole Miss. Yeah, it's not. But again, you're not just going to run. You're just not going to roll over them And what they're going to do well is they're going to stop the run. That's what they're going to make sure they do. So I think that you have to make sure that you have to be committed to the run, and you run it enough to keep them honest and make them stack the box to make them stop it. You have to make them stop the run, but you have to make them defend your receivers. Must. You must. That's just me. Hey, be nice, Trojan Panda. Don't say stuff like that. Yeah, Ole Miss playoff game and fine tooth comb, looking at Kirby's weaknesses. Yeah, it's it's going to be a fun game, man. I think it's a tough ask to think you're going to go in. I mean, nobody goes in there and beats Georgia. I saw that old dude from SEC Unfiltered picked Oklahoma to win that game for whatever reason. He's got Georgia going 11-1, losing to Oklahoma at home. I don't know. He's got a hunch about something or whatever. I mean, I think it's a tough ask. I just do. Doesn't mean you can't do it. Texas hasn't been able to do it. But we'll see. We'll see, man. I think it's a tough ask. I think it's a tough ask to go to the swamp and beat Florida this year, too. I think it is. And it's probably going to be a tough game to go into Starkville and play Mario Taylor in Mississippi State in that craziness, especially now that they have a defensive coach back in the fold, too. Levy's problem has not been his offense. I mean, they've been lighting it up with Blake Shapen for 2 years. Camario's way better than that. Get a guy like Kendall Dobie in the mix. They went and got some legit pieces, and Zach Arnett is a real defensive coach. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people. I think they are. I think Oklahoma wins the game. But, I mean, there's some tough ones. Wait, what? Your wife? I didn't know you were married, Crow. Congratulations. Did you play that at the wedding? When did you get married? Yeah, no doubt. They believe they can win on the road. They do win on the road. They didn't lose a true road game last year. So it was big. But I'm going to tell you, expectations are, I think it's a tough ask. Do I think they can't do it? No, I think they can win. You're going to have to go out there. You're going to have a big passing game. I think you're going to have an explosive passing attack there. Doesn't mean you're not going to run the ball. You're going to have to do that, but you just can't be one-dimensional for sure. When did you get married, dog? When? You've been busy. I see that. How's business? Going good? Apparently the business with the ladies is going good. Tell her I said hello. Congratulations. When did this happen? Now, Trojan Panda, now I have to put you in timeout because I told you not to say stuff like that. Can't do that, bud. Knucklehead. 6 months ago, bro, and I'm just now hearing about this. Disappointed, Crow. Disappointed. It disappoints me. I had to take a quick break. Be right back. Are you tired of your game day gear looking like it's stuck in the offseason? Well, step up your fandom with Hall of Fame College Football's official Fanatics partner store. Whether you're a diehard Oklahoma Sooners fan like myself, bleeding crimson and cream, or you rep another one of the SEC's heavy hitters, Fanatics has you covered. Shop thousands of officially licensed hats, jerseys, sideline polos, and exclusive championship merch from the entire Power 4 and Group of 6 too. All shipped directly to your doorstep and fast. Want to gear up like your favorite coaches and players? Are you looking for that perfect tailgate tee or a statement piece for your man cave? Fanatics is your one-stop shop for authentic college football gear from everybody that plays the game. So do yourself and your team a favor. Click our link in the description or simply log on to hofmedia.us/fanatics. That's hofmedia.us/fanatics. And you can shop everything that you want for the best prices of the day right on our Fanatics partner page. Want a more comfortable way to breathe through your nose, put an end to dental issues caused by mouth breathing, and stop snoring? Meet Intake Breathing. This simple magnetic system is designed to support easy, comfortable nose breathing at night, during workouts, and throughout your day. It's quick to apply, comfortable to wear, and built for real life. Better comfort, better routine, and better breathing. Scan the QR code and get 15% off your Intake Starter Kit today. Visit Intake Breathing to learn more. Want a more comfortable way to breathe through your nose? Put an end to dental issues. Sorry about that. All right. That was a great question I just saw from Urban. I think that the first thing they always want to do at Georgia. I asked Coach I to come on tonight, but he was busy with his wife, and I hadn't talked to him in a while. It was last minute too, so. And like Shawty, listen, you're gonna see Georgia's gonna do the same stuff, man. They're gonna run the damn ball, but you need to make them. They're gonna come at you running the ball. You got to stop the run. Oklahoma's been great against the run. You're going to have to make Gunnar Stockton beat you. And I think that the secondary's up for that challenge. But again, I can see that being pretty low scoring game, man. Probably taking the under there. But because I got to wait and see what this offense looks like. But I mean, listen, if you can establish the run and make them put guys in the box. The way that Georgia's always beaten teams with its defense is by they don't have to have a heavy box. They don't have to add blitzers. They can put a lot of guys in the secondary because they can get to the quarterback. They didn't really do a great job of that last year. You got to find a way to make them add guys to the equation, right? That's how. Congratulations, Sooner in Texas. 22 years. Hats off to your wife, man. Whew. She must be a saint to put up with your cranky ass. Oh, you did? Well, you got that voodoo going on, man. Did you have to give her peyote? What did you have to do? How'd you do that? That's rare. Gentry Williams, man. You heard what? I don't know if you heard what Brent said during media days. He's unhappy about Gentry being at Georgia. Loves him. I mean, I feel bad for Gentry for the stuff that was happening with the medical thing. I mean, it wasn't good. Did they? I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that. No one will play who? Born in Muskogee, Oklahoma. Lots of fans, lots of family in Oklahoma. Lots of family in Oklahoma. Yep. And I mean, so oil field country is where the part of New Mexico I grew up in. You know, a lot of Oklahomans that spend a lot of time. They're either in Oklahoma or southeastern New Mexico, where we're from. Family all came from there. Pretty much both sides. But yeah, I was born in Muskogee. My dad was, I think, working at when they built part of the refinery in that area. My mom wasn't a fan of the tornadoes, so they left. Yeah, I hadn't heard that either. I hadn't heard that it was a okay. So it's a done deal then, Charles. Okay. No, I hadn't heard that. I heard that it was kind of tentatively on the schedule, like what Trojan Fight said. But I didn't see that. And Benji, I don't know where you're at, but he didn't say that earlier either. Urban, do you agree with what I had to say about that? I think, there's no surprises with what they like to do. I mean, they're just better than everybody at it. Again, I just think it's not going to be an easy game. But physicality wise, I think that, Kirby said it last year. They're going to out physical you. They out physical Texas every time they've played them. Texas is physical defensively. They've been physical. They have been. And they'll be physical now with the new DC back there, with Will Muschamp. Yeah, they're pretty cool. Pretty cool. Been there a few times. It's a tough walk, man. It's a tough walk. Yeah. Anyway, I think they're gonna play physical, and I think that Oklahoma is uniquely capable of dealing with the physicality in comparison to a lot of teams that they've played in the past. When they were losing to Alabama was just as physical. I don't know that they're as physical as they were. That's not what we hear. Yeah, that's fair. I'm not either. Yeah, but I guess it was right before she had me, there was a tornado that hit and my dad was working and there was no basement where they were living. She had to get in the bathtub and I guess the tornado hit like a fireworks stand across the street from the building they lived in. She said it was the craziest thing ever, man. It was loud and, talk about how it sounds like a freight train. My mom, I don't know if she's still watching or not. She's told me that story quite a few times. Scared the hell out of her. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that they're going to have to beat Oklahoma in the passing game. It's a great opportunity for OU secondary to step up and be big. And again, I think that you're going to put pressure on. Listen, one thing I'll say is I think Gunnar Stockton is very good. I think that he's kind of slept on, even by some Georgia fans seem to sleep on him some. I think the dude's a baller. He went toe-to-toe and won that game at Tennessee also. And, Tennessee had every opportunity to win that thing. He just kept coming at him. Do I believe artistically incredible? What's up, man? Welcome in. Is this the first time you've been here? Do you ever think the ACC could get its flagship programs to be good at the same time. Miami, Clemson, FSU. It's hard to do. It's kind of hard to do. I mean, Florida State and Clemson have been good at the same time, but not all three. I think it's wild that North Carolina hadn't figured out how to put a decent product on the field with the money and backing that they have. It's just weird. And look, man, don't sleep on Jeff Brom in Louisville. And I guess you really can't sleep on SMU. They got plenty of money to play the game. Now, they didn't play very well last year. They had some games that, I mean, they beat Miami, but then they lost some games that they're like, what? I think it's a tough, look, I think Pitt's pretty good this year. I think Cal might be a real dark horse. That quarterback is unbelievable. I can't even say his whole name is whatever, it's Politelli or whatever. Yeah. I'm gonna say no. They're not. They won't. Second time here. Well, welcome in, my guy. I think it's tough. I think it's tough to do it. Look, I think top to bottom, the ACC is definitely better than the Big 10, the Big 12. I don't know about the Big 10, like what, old boy at Pitt said. I don't even think JJ was down with what he said. I think it's silly. But I don't think anybody should really. I think Miami is the clear-cut best team in the ACC right now. Clemson, we keep hearing Clemson might be really good. They should have been really good last year. They weren't. And whatever, it is what it is. You can blame Lincoln's little brother if you want. I think that my opinion is that Dabo's offense is stale. Yeah, I think so. They're creative in their passing game, but they don't, they want to grind you down. And that's the main thing. I think that they're going to have to take their shots too. Yeah, I think they're going to have to. I think that's how you have to beat Oklahoma if you're Georgia. I think it's a tough matchup for them just as much as I think. Listen, at the end of the day, it's hard to go on the road and win in Athens, and this is the best team in the SEC for easy the past 4 years. They won back-to-back natties, and they're back-to-back SEC champions. To me, it's, look, like I said before, Kirby gets the benefit of the doubt. He gets the benefit of the doubt. They're loaded too. I mean, don't make no mistake. They were young last year was part of the problem. I wouldn't go expecting them to be like they were on defense last year necessarily because they're a year older and they're all really damn good. I mean, they didn't stop knowing how to recruit. So, look, I think that Kirby's still the guy. I think it's a tough ask for Oklahoma to go in there and win. I'm not saying they can't, but they're going to have to play really good football, and they're going to have to – I think that both teams are probably going to have to be able to be – I don't know that you're going to really rack up a bunch of yards, but I think you have to obviously commit to your run game, but so that they have to be, they have to play straight up and honest. They have to, and you have to make them commit more than four or five. You have to do it. Hold on now. They didn't not go and find guys they got some dudes. The guy from Georgia Tech that they brought, he's a stud. Big body dude, speed. I'm trying to remember his name. He's a stud, straight up. Straight up. That was a big pickup for them. Look, are they going to be, I mean, I don't know. I think that, I don't know. I mean, obviously Zachariah Branch was explosive. He had a hell of a year. But I think this guy is pretty damn explosive. He's a big guy. He's got speed. He's a stud, dude. He's a really good player. They've got some young dudes that are going to have to step up and show. But look, again, I'm going to tell you, if you're expecting them to go and beat you with the 1,000-yard receiver, they don't do that. They haven't had one in forever. They don't have to have one. That's not how they win. And they'll be better on defense. They just will. They just will. I think it's gonna be a fun game. Fun game. SEC and Big Ten have 3 or 4 teams every year that are title contenders. ACC has potential to have that as well. Big 12 is just a one team. I wouldn't say that. Make no mistake. Since Oklahoma won 6 in a row in the Big 12, there hasn't been a repeat champion. And until Texas Tech wins another one, the last time they won a conference championship in any league was 70 years before this last one. Kalani Sitake's the best coach in that league, in my mind. They got most of their guys coming back. True freshman quarterback ain't a true freshman anymore. They were 11-1 in the regular season. The only 2 losses they had were to Tech. Tech lost a lot of those dudes. All this just expecting them to be the same. I'm telling you, I'm going to be the guy out there that says, they're not going to be the same. And I don't think that they're handling being the villain very well either. Oklahoma or Texas would be like, fuck y'all, cool. You don't have to like it. We're going to kick your ass anyway. They're whining and bitching about it. I don't think they're going to handle it well. Listen, I've seen Texas Tech not do. I've seen them do Texas Tech things for far too long for me to expect them to win back to back. It's not the only program. But tortillas, so the Big 12 cheated them or something. Yeah, I know. Silly shit. And tortillas ain't the only thing they throw, though, either. Carolina, Virginia, great athletes. Carolina needs to increase football funding. Well, they did. They didn't do it for Mac. Fired him for going 6-6, and then didn't they just win like 4 last year with Belichick? So you realize they could have had John Summerall, Darian Mensah would have went with him instead of going to Duke. Silly. Great for Florida, but I don't know whoever made that decision be fired. Listen, Virginia Tech is another team that's gonna be good. Look, Franklin wasn't winning against the big boys of the Big Ten. He won what? 1 conference championship. Is that right, Dave? Pretty sure that's right. Aside from that, he got his ass kicked by the big boys in that league. Always. But what we do know is that he can recruit. And he had multiple 9-win seasons at Vandy before NIL. He can coach. And again, yeah, I think they may be a year out from being really good. But they're going to be, I think Virginia Tech is going to take another step. And again, he was talking about recruiting that area of Virginia. He's got pipeline into Pennsylvania. I think it's a huge move by Virginia Tech to get him. Huge. Oh, okay. I got you. Well, yeah, okay. Good call. Because it ain't always gonna be Tech. It ain't. I'm gonna tell you, I think that Tech doesn't play for and they have an easy schedule. They may play for it. Something tells me they're gonna lose 3 or 4 games. Something tells me they are. They've historically struggled their asses off with Okie Light. And don't make no mistake, I'm not buying the Okie Light hype train just yet. But overlook them and see how that goes. The quarterback situation is real. I mean, Mestamaker's real. If Hawkins can be 75% of the back he was at North Texas, shit, they're going to be legit on offense. Defensively, I think they struggle, but I don't know that you have to have the greatest defense in the world in the Big 12 overall. I think to compete for national titles, you do. And again, as good as that defense was, and they lost pretty much everything off of it, and they think they've reloaded. You know what? Florida State thought they reloaded after their undefeated season, and they went like 3-9 the next year. Awful. You can't just play the portal game and it just always comes together perfect. I'm not buying them, dude. I'm just not buying them. Dude, hell yeah. I've seen the game. I've seen the game there. I've seen. You know where else is a great place for football is West Virginia. Morgantown's awesome. Awesome place. I had some buddies when I was in the military that were from the area in West Virginia. I've seen multiple games there. There's some cool places to watch college football on the East Coast. There really is. College basketball is unbelievable on that. I loved it in Philly. I loved it obviously in the ACC down in the Tobacco Road and all that. Shit is cool. I mean, as much as I'm not a Duke fan, I like Carolina if I'm going to choose one of the Tobacco Road teams, but it's kind of hard to. Cameron Indoor is unbelievable. Unbelievable. DC, Ann Arbor. Oh, yeah, dude. Yeah. Oh, the DC is in Ann Arbor too? Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude. It's a different place. Dude, Hokie fans are legit. They love their football out there, bro. They do. There's some places that love their football out there. Penn State was a fun. I went to a couple of Penn State games. One of my sergeants he had season tickets. Had them forever. This was back. I saw a whiteout game where they played Michigan. I got to go to that. It was unreal. This was back in 96-ish, 96, 97. That was awesome. That was awesome. Cool. Happy Valley's a cool place. Cool place. Out in the middle of damn nowhere. Sheesh. And they did squeak by Michigan that day. I think that may have been. See, I think Carr was the coach still there at that point. I believe he was. 96, 97-ish. Tell me if I'm right there, Dave. Another great environment. Yep. Been there a few times too. I've been to DKR. Awesome. Man, that whole campus is. I covered state track there. Their track stadium puts a lot of football stadiums to shame in the Big 12. It did at that point. Unbelievable. Texas high school track is unbelievable. Covered that there. Covered a couple of basketball games there when Kevin Durant was there. Let's see. twice been to DKR covering Tech, and then an A&M game with Texas too. That was badass. I didn't get to go to Kyle Field for a Texas A&M game, but I've seen the Lone Star Shootout before. Pretty badass. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So it was. Yeah, it had to be. It may have been 98 that you're talking about. Yeah, maybe. Seems like I was overseas a lot in 98, and that guy wasn't my sergeant at that point, but we were still tight. So yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I think it was 98. 95, I just got there. I didn't go then. It wasn't, for sure wasn't then. Dude, KD was, I mean, I don't like his ass, especially now. Sauce. Weak sauce. Don't get me started on KD. I'm a Russ guy. But he was unreal. Unreal. Yeah, I think it was. I was thinking it was 96. I was thinking it was 96. Oh, thanks, 47 straight. Appreciate you. Yeah. I know we didn't really end up talking as much about what was going on. And look, I think at the end of the day, we'll talk a lot about it as you kind of hear more, and once the vote comes out and all that stuff. I think I wouldn't say that what's going to happen with this. I think realignment could come to if this passes, it's going to be a grinding halt. I can't imagine that it won't get challenged in some way. But maybe not right away. I think at the end of the day, it certainly helps. The Big 12 and the ACC, the people that are complaining, I can understand it if you're thinking that, if you're a Florida State fan, a Clemson fan, and you feel like you don't belong in the ACC, I get it. They need to make more money. I get all that. But they have catered to them and given them larger shares, right, than the rest of the ACC. But, you know, if you're, like I said, if you're either commissioner from those leagues, it's a win for them if it works out. Definitely a win for the Big 12 to stay together. I mean, the Big 12 is the most in danger power conference there is, without a doubt. It just is. Because it's going to be, you know, 47 or not. I mean, it was artistically incredible said it's going to be one team a year. That's not really good. You need somebody that takes the reins. Texas Tech thinks they're going to do that. Listen, until they do, they haven't, right? I think BYU has the ability. They're a national program too, and make no mistake, them being the LDS school, it's similar to Notre Dame. Now, it's not on the level of Notre Dame as far, but they have fans all over the country too. And they're serious about their football, man. They really are. And again, I think Kalani is a better football coach than anybody else in the league. I believe that. Maybe, I mean, you know, I guess you could say our guy at Arizona State is one of the top guys there too. I don't think Joey McGuire is, though. I don't. You know, coach at Houston, really good. I think Klein is going to be pretty good. Don't believe in this dude. I think Utah just signed its death warrant, pushing Witt out the door. What a shit show. I think they're in trouble. I think they were in trouble anyway. And they're not, they've been 1 foot in the Big 12 anyway. Like they were going to be one of the team that got the Big 12. Now, they're not going to be happy. But overall, if you're a Big 12 fan, if you're Oklahoma State, you know, maybe you were one of those teams that had an opportunity to go to the SEC if it was going to get big, like 24 teams, something like that. Maybe. But look, it's easier. I would tell you that it's a lot easier to make a playoff out of the Big 12 than it is in any of the other leagues. Certainly in the, SEC or Big 10. Although they only get one because they were dumb enough to not accept the 4-4-2-2 model and go to the 16. Still think they should revisit that. If an 11-1 BYU couldn't make it into the playoff and you had 2 G6 teams in, it's not a good sign for the Big 12. But they survived because of this. If that goes through, if this all passes in both houses and makes it through muster in the courts and all that other stuff, it's probably a good thing for the ACC and the Big 12. Certainly for their commissioners and trying to keep it together. But I also think that, that building that, the salary cap being a quote hard cap, but it doubled, more than doubled in 1 year. I mean, that tends to favor the programs that have lots of money. The blue bloods, the, power programs, the ones that spare no expense. And, I know that supposedly they have multiple billionaires at Texas Tech now. It's really Cody. And we'll see how long they all spend on them when they don't get it done. We'll see. It's tough. It's going to be tough for teams like K-State and Kansas has got money. Don't make no mistake about it. And there's money at Oklahoma State as well. But they turned down a big money investment that I know of for sure over the summer, and that money went to LSU. It was going to go to OSU. Why? Silly shit. Weird. We'll have to get Cody Light to talk about it. I don't know if that he will. But at the end of the day, I think that you have to, nothing passes in an election year. Listen, it may or may not, man. It may or may not. Yeah. That's true, man. And it's a different animal in the House than it is in the Senate by a long shot anyway. As far as there's a lot of people on the House side that are not good with, they don't believe in any of this stuff with the limiting players and all this. I mean, there's some roadblocks ahead. Doesn't mean it won't go through. Depends on who gets elected, but I don't know. We'll see, man. We'll see how it goes. At the end of the day, I think there's other hurdles to jump, but right now, it was supposed to be dead as of Thursday, and Friday they kicked it back to life, and now they're saying 80. I mean, look, I'm going to reserve judgment on that side of it. But if it does go through, say goodbye to realignment. I don't know that I hate that myself. I'm not in love with the idea of 25-team conferences. I like 16 because you're going to play everybody every other year at worst, and you've got protected rivals. I just like it. But there's no stopping that. You're not putting toothpaste back in the tube. So if it ever jumps up, it's gonna do its thing. But it seems like right now they're holding it back. We'll find out. Do you think so? Well, it would be leftovers. That would be if they don't have, right now, what this bill says is that each power conference, all the Power 4 conferences are limited to 19 programs. The Big Ten is at 18. That 19th spot will be reserved for Notre Dame. Notre Dame isn't going to ever probably take it, or at least not anytime soon. Make no mistake, not anytime soon. But they're not going to give that spot to anybody but Notre Dame. The SEC, could they add 3? Maybe. I don't think that they're in a big hurry to do it, though. And I don't know that they really need to. At this point, they don't need to. It's a tough enough deal to begin. They're trying to win some more championships. They better. Look, there's only so much TV time, too. So I don't know, man. To me, I don't think it's as far-fetched that you would limit that. I think it's crazy to think that it would, make it past lawsuits and shit like that. That, there's going to be schools that are going to be like, to hell with you. And independence for five. That works for Notre Dame. It doesn't work for anybody else. I don't care how big of a program you are, you're Miami, Florida State, you're North Carolina. You don't know what it is to be an independent. And you don't have the following that Notre Dame has. You don't. So it's a death sentence for anybody but them. And then they don't really have to go by that rule either. They've been independent for so long that if they decide to join a conference, it'll be immediate. Again, though, having different rules for different people doesn't seem like that's, I don't know, man. I think it's wrought with problems. Okay. 10-team leagues with 9 league games? Okay. Thanks, 47 straight. Good to see you. I'm out of here, too. I've been going for 2 hours. But I enjoyed talking with you guys. We'll see what happens. We'll talk about it more on Big Monday. Oklahoma gets started. I mean, everybody's getting started. It's August. It's August, folks. Here we are. 27 days away now from college football. 26 if you're OU fans. Friday night. Let's get it. Can't wait. A lot of stuff coming up. I'm excited about the season finally being here. I mean, it's time we're going to start talking actual football instead of bullshit. But I think that definitely, I like to cover what's going on in college football. And this is a huge story. Make no mistake. It's a huge story. We'll see how it turns out. But, couldn't not talk about it. If it goes through, it changes the game forever. All right, guys. Appreciate everybody coming in. Make sure you smash that like button. If you're not already a subscriber, become one. Help me out. Share this with your friends. Man, we've added a lot of subscribers just really quick. It took forever to get the last few hundred to 5,000. I think we're 3 or 4 away from 5,100 in like 2 weeks. So appreciate that from everybody. Appreciate all the views. Let me know what you want to see more of, and we'll get it on here for you. Appreciate everybody coming in, though. Love you guys. See you on the next one. We'll see you on the next one.